All right, so this is Sam Shankland here, and I've been asked by quite some people to take this chess personality quiz. I'm definitely late to the party. It's been a few weeks since I think that was a big thing, but I've never been one to be keeping up with what's trending or anything like that. I've heard a lot of strong players have been taking these and have found some interesting things out about themselves. So, well, I'm looking forward to it, and this will be enlightening. Let's see what I get. So, take the quiz. Internet's a little slow here. Which side would you rather play in the following position, black to move? I would not be caught dead playing this position with black, so I'm just going to say white, although I'm not sure how much I'd like that either. When you play in tournaments, do you usually score with consistent results, or do you often perform on the extremes, either really well or really poorly? Okay, I can think of two tournaments I've played in like the last 4 years where I had a ridiculous result. One was the Olympiad where I got the gold medal. It was some 2850 something performance, just tore through the field. And I really got crushed in Abu Dhabi. Other than that, I've played quite a bit of chess in that time frame with just consistency. I think I would call myself quite consistent. Which best describes how you think about this position, the Sveshnikov Sicilian? Okay, well, this is the starting position of the Sveshnikov Sicilian, pretty much. Black has given up a critically important d5 square. That is true. Black has lots of potential counterplay with the bishop pair and the f5 pawn break. That's also true. So I guess it's just a personal preference, and I mean, since I play e4 like half the time with white and I never play Sveshnikov with black, I'll just say A. Which statement is closer to the truth? I bring my best game when facing opponents I dislike, or I don't really notice my opponent. Definitely B. I'm a bit of a robot when I play my games. I just try to find the best move over and over again. And I like to think of myself as a likable enough guy that I don't have tons of people I have to dislike. Black just played g5. Okay, your first instinct is to, I would definitely say take on g5. I mean, it looks completely devastating at first glance. I mean, you definitely have to calculate the variations properly, but I mean, just knight takes g5, hg, bishop takes g5, and black can't even move the knight on f6 because of the pin, and then you go e4 and rook g3. That's, I think, yeah, it's just got to be take g5. Do you play gambits? Suppose it depends what that means. I mean, I have no problem sacrificing stuff in the opening if I feel it's correct, but my guess is when they say, do you play gambits, do they mean like sort of the romantic era Evans Gambit or Danish Gambit, or the kind of things where you just give up everything and try to throw it all at the king and hope it works? And, well, I've always found those to be somewhat unsound, so I just say no. How would you think about whether or not to take on g5 as white? I would evaluate the placement of the pieces to decide if the attack seemed promising, or I would calculate several variations to decide if white's attack is strong enough. Well, I would say you would evaluate, I already did evaluate the piece placement just to make knight takes g5 a candidate move, but to actually decide whether you're going to pull the trigger, I think it should just be calculated. And my feeling is, if knight takes g5 works here, if it's good for white, it's not just going to be an advantage, it's going to be completely crushing, and it's going to be something you can really work out. So I'm going to go with the brute force way. So, under serious time pressure, you're more likely to miss a tactic. No self-respecting grandmaster moves pieces aimlessly under any circumstances. Which of these ideas do you prefer for white? White should trade bishops and put in strong knight on d4. Looks extremely tempting, which will prevent any counterplay from black, doubling rooks on the c-file by defending c2. That is true, and that is strong. White should push d4, temporarily misplacing black's bishop pair, and start an attack on the king's side with f5, where the black king sits alone. It's probably also quite good. It looks very tempting, at least. But after d4, bishop b6, f5, I wonder if black can play f6. And if he can get away with that, he should be fine. So I think in that regard, it's actually quite concrete. So if this were a real game, I would have to invest quite some time, but being that we're just having fun here, I'm going to go with the safe option and just take this one as clearly better for white when this d4, f5 is a bit more complicated and would need time to work out. You start the game with one d4. Would you rather your opponent play d5 or f5? Well, I think f5 is just not as good a move as d5, so I'm going to say I'd rather say that. I'm sorry, Michael Agner. You know I love you, but yeah. You've been ahead of pawn for most of the game, but after tough resistance from your opponent, you only have 5 minutes left in this position. Should you play on or offer your opponent a draw? Well, I don't like offering draws in better positions. I don't care how much time I have. In particular, I don't think this is even a better position. I think this is close to winning. The black king side's pretty fragile. The a-pawn is certainly no real threat. There's no real risk here. I think it's close to winning. You definitely have to keep pushing. Which statement comes closest to your feelings? It's always a joy to be paired with someone you've crushed in the past, or the odds of winning are slightly higher against opponents one has previously beaten. I guess I'd go with B. I mean, I think, especially as I'm still a pretty young man, and nowadays all the top players are also still pretty young men. We change a lot as we get stronger, and when you crush someone 1 year and then the next year they could be completely different. I mean, my score with Alex Lenderman is ridiculous. I think it was like 7.5 out of 9, but I don't really think I'm necessarily a big favorite against him because of that in future games. So I'm going to go with B. With plenty of time on your clock, what would you do in this position? Trade on e6 and play rook d7 because the endgame is good for white, or redirect the knight to c3 via a4 to preserve the better minor piece. Okay, knight c3, the best you can do then is knight d5 anyway, so you should take e6. Invest serious time calculating whether knight e6 achieves anything concrete. No, there's just knight e6. What do you think of the famous saying, chess is 99% tactics? I think that's nonsense. I mean, tactics are a huge part of chess, there's no doubt, but there's also all sorts of positional play, opening theory, technical endgames. I mean, we were watching on chess.com, actually today, I saw a video by Alex Yermolinsky just showing like Mikhail Tal, like most tactical player of all time. He's just played this beautiful opposite color bishop ending with this unbelievable Zugzwang where the bishop couldn't move. I'll say I disagree. You feel like this wild gambit line for black, white to move. He's down an entire rook, and I don't really see any major threats. I think it's just completely lost. So I'm going to say, no way am I trying to lose. After losing a game, have you ever broken something or yelled out loud? That was a fun one. I'm going to say yes, I definitely have. Not super recently, but I was definitely an adult too, so it's a little embarrassing. I'm not going to repeat the word I used. White to play and castle kingside or queenside. I don't white to play and castle at all. I want to play knight e5. Yeah, knight e5 threatens knight takes g4, and if knight takes e5, then d takes e5 and h7 goes. I mean, I think knight e5 is just the best move, or at least that's my first inclination. Anyhow, I guess if I'm going to play knight e5 with that bishop on g4, it's going to be hard to castle queenside. So I'll say kingside, but which is closer to the truth? I get excited or nervous before a game, and I don't worry about prizes, money, titles, or honors while playing. I just play my game. Those are actually both completely true for me. But if this word while here was changed to before, then it would be A. Because before playing, I definitely get excited, nervous, I think about all this stuff, which is not good. I'm trying to work on that psychologically, but once I start playing, I'm just tunnel zoned on the board, and I don't even notice anything around me. Like, a ton of bricks could fall behind with a huge earth-shattering bang, and my opponent be laying butt naked. I would never notice. So, but I guess I'll just say I get excited or nervous before a game, because before a game, that is true. How would you come up with a plan in this position as white? Consider the strengths and weaknesses of black's position and decide where my pieces feel best, or calculate some line. You just have to take d5 and play d4. It's a positional nightmare for black, so I'm going to say A. Which is harder for you to do? Identify my advantages in building a plan, or trade a good position for a strong attack? Actually, I'm not very good at either, but I'll just say identify advantages in building a plan. I'm a pretty tactical guy, so that's a tough one. So, is the computer stuck? I'm a grinder. Grinders are players with an unassuming style that can hide just how intent they are on winning. They don't need to know opening theory to beat you. Don't need to have an advantage to beat you. Well, okay, apparently I play chess like Anatoly Karpov. Of all the world champions of the past, I mean, I certainly respect him very much, but he's the one whose style I think least resembles my own. So I question this credibility, but, well, hey, maybe it works. I do play the Caro-Kann. What do you know? So, yeah, I'm a grinder. That's what there is to it. This is Sam Shanklin taking the quiz, and thanks for watching.